I make a lot of iPhone tips and tricks content, and obviously I don't use all of the tips that I talk about myself. I just want to share everything that I discover with you. But it dawned on me recently that I should probably make a video where I talk about the tips and features of the iPhone that I do actually use. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. These are my 20 favorite iPhone tips and features. Stick with me until the end of the video, as I genuinely believe the one thing they have in common is that they're all really useful. Okay, let's get into it. You're no doubt familiar with these checkboxes that appear at different points throughout iOS. You use them to select multiple items. So here in Mail, for example, I've tapped the Edit button in the upper right of the screen first, and that then allows me to select emails to either delete or mark or move in bulk. But if you need to do this for multiple items all at once, you'd simply take your finger and swipe down the list of items just like this. You can see that all of the items are selected at once, making this a really quick and easy way to deal with lots of items, and this works across loads of different parts of iOS. Typing on an iPhone as an experience simply isn't the same as typing on a full-sized computer keyboard, but there is a feature in your iPhone that makes it that little bit closer, and it's called Haptic Keyboard. You would head into Settings, then Sounds and Haptics, then Keyboard Feedback, and ensure that this function here called Haptic is toggled on. With this on, each time you hit a key on your iPhone's keyboard, you'll get a tiny bit of feedback through the screen, which does feel a little bit more like typing on something like a BlackBerry keyboard. It's a great feature. It does drain your battery faster than not having it on, so consider this if you're going to use it. The majority of complaints that I get on my videos about typing on the iPhone is in relation to people having large hands and finding everything a bit too fiddly. But if you're like me and you've got small hands, you might find that modern smartphones are large to the point where it can be difficult to operate them one-handed. If that's the case for you, try using Reachability. Go to Settings, then Accessibility, then Touch, and enable Reachability. With this toggled on, you would simply use your thumb or finger to give a little flick down at the bottom part of your screen if you're using a phone with Face ID, or if you're on a phone with a home button, lightly double tap the home button. Almost 50% of the screen will drop down, allowing you to reach the things at the top more easily. Fun fact, notice that on an iPhone with a dynamic island, your phone even replicates the dynamic island as the screen drops down. By the way, if you prefer to have content like this in a written format, there's a PDF to accompany this video, and you can access it by joining my membership program, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to all video PDFs moving forward, plus the growing library of old ones. Just follow the link in the description of this video that says Become a Channel Member. If you have an iPhone running iOS 16 and a Mac running macOS Ventura or newer, you can make use of something called Continuity Camera. This is where, when using video conferencing on your Mac, you can use your phone's camera and microphone instead of the absolute potato that's built into your laptop. So here, for example, even on my M2 Max MacBook Pro, this is how the built-in camera looks. And this is how it looks if I use the camera on my iPhone 14 Pro instead. To enable this, ensure that you're signed into the same iCloud accounts on both devices, and that you have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled, and that you're connected via the same Wi-Fi network, and then go to Settings, then General, then AirPlay and Handoff, and ensure Continuity Camera is toggled on. Then on your Mac, you can choose the camera and microphone that you want to use. Oh, and this tiny little device lets you prop your iPhone on your MacBook's display. A feature that arrived in iOS 16 was the ability to cancel an email send. We're going to go to Settings, then Mail, then scroll right down to the bottom of this screen and tap into where it says Undo Send Delay. You can choose to have this feature off or have a 10, 20, or 30-second delay on any emails that you send. The way that this works is that when you hit send on an email, your phone will actually hold off sending that email for the allotted time, and during that time you can hit undo send, which will bring the email right back to the edit screen for you. If you're like me and you often think of something that you should have mentioned in an email right after you hit send, this can be an invaluable feature. Typing out your email address all the time is a pain, and that's why I don't do it. I use text replacement instead. Go to Settings, then General, then Keyboard, and then Text Replacement. Tap the little plus button here in the upper right of the screen. In Phrase, type out your email address. Then in Shortcut, I use the @ key twice, but you can use whatever you like. Hit Save when you're done. Now, every time you're using your phone and you type the @ key twice and then the spacebar, your phone will input your email address for you. The Apple TV boxes are, in my opinion, one of the most underrated pieces of Apple tech on the market, offering amazing functionality at a crazy cheap price when compared with other Apple products. One of the nicest features of Apple TV is that if you've got an iPhone connected on the same Wi-Fi network and logged in to the same iCloud account, you can use your iPhone as a remote control. First, go into Settings, then Control Center, and ensure that you've got Apple TV Remote included in your Control Center. You do that by tapping the green plus next to it and ensuring it's up here in the included controls section. Then when you want to use the remote, simply access the control center and tap the remote button. You've now got full remote controls via your iPhone, just like if you were using the Siri remote that comes with Apple TV, but without having to leave your seat to go and pick it up. Drag and drop is really useful on iPhone, but most people don't know how to do it. I use it mostly for email. So if I receive an email that I want to be reminded about at a different date or time, I want to get that email into my Reminders app, and you can do that using drag and drop. So here's an email. I'm going to use my finger or thumb to press down on the email just slightly, and then immediately move it to kind of lift it off the screen, like you can see here. Then, still holding that finger or thumb down, I'm going to use my other hand to swipe up on the screen to get back to the home screen, then open Reminders. I'm then going to drop that email into Reminders, and you can see that this creates a reminder that links right back to that email. This does take a bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's really, really useful. By the way, if you're enjoying the content here, why not consider signing up to my newsletter, The Proper Weekly? I include some tech news from the week, a behind the scenes of what's happening here on the channel, as well as a tip for an item in the Apple ecosystem. The newsletter goes out each Friday, it's free to join, and I'll include a sign-up link in the description of this video. Your photo library is probably pretty large, and it's only going to get larger over time as you add more photos and videos to it. And sometimes you want to get right back to where it all started and view your first photos and videos. If you've got thousands of images, swiping to get to that point can take a long time, so just do this instead. Tap at the top of the screen. I usually tap where the time is showing, and your phone will immediately jump you all the way to your earliest photos and videos. And to get back, simply tap on Library down at the bottom left of the screen, and your phone will jump you back. Your iPhone has a feature called Haptic Touch, where touching and holding the screen for a moment will bring up additional options. It works all over iOS, but it's most useful on app tiles. So for example, if I tap and hold for a moment on Safari, you can see that I can immediately open up my bookmarks or reading list, or a private tab or a new regular tab. On Mail, I can immediately begin a new email or access search or view specific inboxes. It works on the second-gen iPhone SE, the iPhone XR or iPhone 11 and newer, on the iPhone 6, 7 and 8 range, as well as the iPhone XS and XS Max. The feature is called 3D Touch and is essentially the same, but involves you having to physically push down harder on the screen rather than tapping and holding. If you get phone calls or texts from numbers that you'd rather not receive, or emails from email addresses, you can block them. If I go to the phone app and find a number that I want to block, I can just tap this little info button to the right of it and then choose block this caller. For messages, you would find the message, tap on the number up at the top, then tap on info, then choose block this caller. And for email, you would tap on the email address in an email that you've been sent, and on this page, you can choose block this contact. One thing to point out here, go to Settings, then Mail, and scroll down to Blocked Sender Options, and change this to Move to Bin, because Leave an Inbox is a bit pointless in my opinion. Regardless of your opinion on Siri, one thing it's really good for is quickly converting things. Whether you want to convert currency, or measurements for a recipe, or distances, Siri can most likely do it. So I might say something like, convert 124 miles to kilometers, for example, and Siri would come back with a result. Or I might say, how much is 200 euros in Turkish lira? Regardless of the kind of conversion you need to do, it's almost always easier to get Siri to do it for you. And remember that if you use an Apple Watch, your watch can perform these conversions for you too. One for the music app here, but something I like to do is listen to music but without the lyrics while I'm working, and you can do that in the music app. This doesn't work on every song, but when you're listening to a track in Apple Music, tap the lyrics button in the lower left of the screen to bring up the lyrics. If you see this microphone button, you can tap on that and then lower the volume of the lyrics of the track that you're listening to, creating an instrumental. It doesn't completely remove the lyrics, but it's good enough if you just want to listen to some music while you're working. Spotlight Search is one of the best features on Mac, and Apple have been quietly making the feature almost as useful on iPhone over the past few years. To access it, you can either swipe down from the middle of the home screen, or if you've got a search box on your home screen, you can tap on that. From here, you can honestly search for pretty much anything. So if I want to open an app, I'll often just type the first couple of letters of it, and that makes it easy to open. But you can also search for photos from your photo library, you can search for messages or emails without having to open the apps up, you can perform quick actions like setting a timer by simply typing timer, or you can perform a conversion. You can search for an address or a place, and a maps result will show. It's really clever, and I'll probably make a dedicated video about it in the future, but for now, check it out for yourself. Your iPhone probably has the Measure app. It's available on the iPhone SE first gen and iPhone 6s or newer, and it uses the camera of your phone plus things like the LiDAR scanner if your phone has one to allow you to just point your iPhone at something and measure it. I've used this in shops to measure furniture if my wife and I are thinking of buying it. I've used it to quickly measure spaces in our house or the garden, and all you have to do is open it up, point it at whatever you'd like to measure, and use the plus button to add waypoints. It can even be used to take single measurements of things like paintings or doors or windows. If you have a compatible iPhone, pretty much anything from the second gen iPhone or iPhone XS onwards, your iPhone can perform something called visual lookup. This is where you take a photo of something and your phone will tell you what you're looking at. It currently works for landmarks, statues, art, plants, pets, and insects, and the range of things it can identify is increasing all the time. Trigger warning, if you don't want to see a picture of a spider, close your eyes for a moment, but this is what we tend to use it for in our house. We get a lot of spiders, especially in our garage, and if they're house spiders, I leave them be. But if they're false widows, I tend to catch them and put them outside. This feature helps me identify them. If you're ever listening to a song or a piece of music and you want to know what it is, just ask your phone. Activate your voice assistant and ask, "What song is this?" and then hold your phone as close to the music as you can. After a moment, your phone should come back with an answer, and you can then usually choose to add that song to your Apple Music library. A basic function of the Mail app here, but one that I often find people don't know about, if you get an email that you know you want to take action on a bit later, you can simply flag it. Swipe right to left and tap on the flag button. You can then go back to your mailboxes, and you have a mailbox called Flagged, which, if it isn't visible by the way, tap the edit button up in the top right and choose it to add it in. I tend to think of the flagged inbox as my to-do list, but for mail, and each time I action an email in here, I swipe from right to left once more and unflag it, which removes it from this list. If you open the Files app and navigate to a folder, then press and hold in the folder for a moment, you can see that you have an option called Scan Documents. You can then hold your phone over a paper document and capture it, and it will be uploaded to iCloud. Once here, it's accessible via all your other devices, like your iPad or your Mac, but if you tap into the document that you just created and tap the little pen icon in the lower right of the screen, then tap the plus button, you can add a signature. This is obviously great if you get asked to sign something and don't have a printer, as you can handle literally the entire process of scanning, signing, and sending a document right from your iPhone. I really like the Notes and Reminders apps on iPhone. I think they're effective and lightweight enough for most people to get what they want from them, but one of the features that I think makes them better than most third-party apps is how easy it is to quickly share things with a friend or family member or colleague who also has an iPhone. So here's a reminders list for a project that I'm working on. I would just tap the share button at the top of the screen and then choose how I want to send the share request. I find that iMessage works very well for this. I'll send the request to my friend, who can then open the link on their phone and accept the invitation, and just like that, we're now collaborating on a list. This could be a project list, or a packing list for a trip, or a grocery list, whatever you like, and it works exactly the same way on Notes too, making it very easy to collaborate right from your phone. So there you go, those are my 20 favourite iPhone tips and features right now as of mid-2023. I'm hoping I can add a few more to this list when iOS 17 is released later this year, but what do you think? Anything that you would have liked to have seen included here? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.